Right, stand by. Roll sound.
Speed.
Roll camera.
Speeding.
Slate.
Scene 1, take 1. Mark.
And action. Hey everybody, welcome to Burnies' Applebox. Got a very special show today. You can see I'm wearing the cans here. We've got a remote guest coming from Brooklyn, New York, and really pleased to be having Adam Richlin on the show today. Adam is a fellow who runs LIGHTBULB Grip and Electric in Brooklyn, New York. I run Burnies' Grip and Lighting out here on the West Coast in Orange County. And I think we're going to have a rousing talk about rentals amongst every other thing, because Adam is one of the most creative, original people in the industry that I know, and he's always doing so much for the community, and that's something I really, really want to talk to him about. So welcome, Adam Richlin.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for doing it. And I love seeing your warehouse in the back. You know, I started, when we started this show, we were on a big stage, my White Psych stage. And because of what we have to do, I'm in a green screen now, but I love that big picture. I love that big picture there, buddy. You're looking good.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know, when you work in film as long as we do, you try to pick a good shot. So
yeah, you try. You know, we always do. I mean, it's something that is sort of never ending. You know, when you get that frame up, and I know you've been on set many, many times. Same with me. They go, I thought you were done lighting. I go, I'm never done lighting. I'm always tweaking. You know, so it's just part of our nature of the type of people we are, and detail orientated. But Adam, let me just tell you something, buddy. I've been so impressed with you, getting to know you, watching your operations, seeing what you're doing. I know the amount of work you're doing because I think I'm close on your heels out here, but I'm telling you what, man, you are a workhorse and you are doing such awesome things for the community. You know, we showed last week, we showed your diversity video here, and it got such a fantastic response, and it was so good, and your panel was so great. The audience was great too. I mean, it was just all around very, very good, and you doing those things for the community, I'll tell you, is really awesome.
Well, thank you, Bernie. I feel like I have the opportunity and the means now to be able to offer a lot back, and so we do education classes at LIGHTBULB. We do lectures and workshops. And so that one particularly was a roundtable discussion that came out of a discussion that we were having as the Harvey Weinstein incident started happening. And it was also already bubbling in our staff's brain as we were having meetings. We were talking about, like, what can we offer for events? What should we be talking about? And somebody said, diversity, and I was just like, yeah, that's definitely something we should do. So I put that panel together, and I tried to find some of the best speakers that I know to be able to sit down and talk knowledgeably about it. And then I felt like the best thing I could do was just to give them microphones and let them talk and let the conversation roll out as it happened. So I think that conversation went really well, and I think we have a lot more of those coming up. We just last night did a panel on producing and client management for young commercial producers, talking to about how do you get started in the industry, how do you start finding clients, how do you bid, what do you put in a bid, that sort of thing. So that hopefully is going to come up in the next week or two. I'm going to try to send you that content over as well. So we'll see if we can share that. And I think there's a lot to be said for education in that it's something that not a lot of people are doing right now, but it is relatively easy to do. My trick to this is we pick a topic, I find the best person I know of to come talk about it, and we either do a workshop or a lecture with it. And it's that straightforward. And I've just started picking things that I don't know about that I want to learn more about, and then inviting all of my friends to come to the events. So yeah, I hope this will pick up across the country, and I hope a lot more people will start doing this as well. I feel like this is something a lot of houses and community groups can be doing. So,
Yes, that's very exciting, and you're doing a good job, and so fantastic. And I completely agree with you. Most of what I do is what I don't know and want to find out myself. You know, that is the best push for education. If you don't know about it, I figure if I don't know about it, there's a lot of people just like me. They don't know about it. So what you're doing is just really fantastic. And I am very anxious to show your latest workshop. How did it go last night? Give us a little preview of that.
We had a lot of fun. I had a group of 3 panelists come in. We had a little bit of change up at the last minute. We had some panelists go and another extra panelist joined in. And so I had a mix of people that I hadn't actually talked to all that much about that specific topic. So it was a really interesting conversation, and we just kind of let it unfold as it happened. And so I got some great answers from Jack Jackson, who's a commercial producer in New York, and he does a lot of big content, big brand content. And a friend Ryan joined me from Climbing Higher Pictures, and we had another friend who's an international content producer. So he is when clients fly in from China and from Indonesia and from foreign countries and they need to produce in New York, his job is to take a budget and figure out how to run with it. How much of it can he produce with what they want to get done? So there was a couple interesting different sections of how the world works. And so some questions went to were home runs for some people, and then for some of the panelists, and then other ones got passed around. So we had questions from the audience, and I think it was a great lecture for starting producers who are figuring out their way in the world and don't have the secure footing of working with a bigger agency or a bigger production house that has staff processes in place, when a lot of us as freelancers have to figure this out on our own. So that's kind of where I was heading with that discussion.
Yeah, that is really great.
That is really great.
One thing that I think I look at when that, I remember for myself, I was a 40-year-old PA, you know, so I started so green in this, so unknowing that I've always had that desire for education, that desire for learning. But I think there's such an opportunity, and this is something I come back to all the time, for the young people, you know, and you're a young person in my mind, you know, but young people coming into it, there is such a plethora of information right now that you can get on. When I came in, there was nothing. You know, you had to literally just know somebody in the business and tap their knowledge base, you know. But now there's so much information, and great sites too. And one is the Super Secret group that I know you post on and answer in a lot.
Super Secret film blog, Evan Borsier's blog. He does an amazing job. Yeah, he does both a and a discussion group. It's a Facebook group as well, and it's one of the most active groups of young cinematographers I've ever found. And so I really enjoy being part of that as well. Yeah.
Yes, he does a fantastic job on that, and we were back and forth. I think with one guy there last week, we were both peppering him with our opinions and information, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, I feel like everybody adds to the encyclopedia entry together, and we all have different opinions on how things should get rigged and what lights you should buy and all those sorts of questions. But then you get enough opinions from the crowd, and sooner or later, you get a consensus.
Yes, no, absolutely. You know, and a guy, William Helmuth, I think you may know him from that group too. He's out here with me, and he loves it. It's just he's very active in it, and it's a really great group. Yeah, really great group. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me how you first intersected the industry. How did you start? What got your interest going?
Oh man. So way back in high school, I really enjoyed doing theater. And so I would do lighting and sound for theater work. And my parents convinced me that as I was applying to college, you probably shouldn't keep doing theater because you'll do a run of a show. And then as a freelancer, who knows how you're going to pay your rent the next month? You work for like 30 days on a show, and then And so I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of scary. So I decided to head towards animation because I figured it'd be fun if I worked on like Pixar style movies that you get onto an animation project, you'll be on there for years. And so that would be a nice long run thing and it would still be part of creating art. I went to RIT in Rochester, a film school. I really enjoyed my time there. And my first quarter of my freshman year, we had to do a Disney style animation where you draw the frame, you flip the page, you draw the frame, you flip the page, you draw. Oh dear. And I was less than like 1 second into a 2-minute animation before I decided animation was not for me. And so I went back to my advisor and I was just like, yeah, this isn't working. And he said, at least, we had a conversation about it. We figured out other options. And his last comment to me was, at least you figure this out now before you spent a couple $100,000 on this. So I ended up wandering to the other side of the film school to live action filmmaking. And I realized that filmmaking is just theater on the run with cameras. You're dealing with a script, you're dealing with actors, you're dealing with lighting. It's the same kind of thing. And it drew me back into that. And so I laugh about it, like what I thought I wanted to grow up doing in high school of being a lighting guy for theater. I ended up still being a lighting guy, but just in a slightly different market.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's funny because I watched the history of comedy the other day, and they were talking about animation, you know, and how everything changed after The Simpsons, you know. And you are probably too young to recall this. I recall when The Simpsons were a part of the Tracy Ullman show, and they would just come in and show a 2-3 minute clip, you know, and then it became everybody's favorite part, you know, and then The Simpsons, of course, you know, I mean, entertainment industry history right there. There's no one that's even come close. No animation has ever come close. And let's put it bluntly, no bad animation has ever come that close, you know, to being a hit. Yeah, I think you should have stuck with it because you could have anybody in Asia or in several different parts of the world do your animation. It's probably much easier now than drawing it out on the pad like you had to start with.
Yeah, so I just think it's interesting because I didn't, like my heart wasn't really in animation, and I ended up wandering back into the same that place where my passion actually was.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of fun working on set. I came up as a camera assistant and then became a DP, and then I've been buying equipment the whole time. Just you know, pieces here and there. It was never like one big $100,000 purchase. It's just like I got an Arri kit, I got some C stands, and then some sandbags, and it acquired over time. And then it just got to the point where I owned enough stuff that I was like, I could start a small business.
Yeah,
that's where this came from.
That is very, very much as my start too. What I did was I took half of every paycheck when I started, and I would buy gear with it. So if I made like $300, I'd have $150 to spend on stingers or maybe a C stand or a couple sandbags,
2 stingers
something
or
like
1
that.
C stand.
What's that?
Yeah. 2 stingers or 1 C stand. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Those were the choices.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny because I had a Suzuki Sidekick and I put all the extra gear in. Every time I went out to a job, I had it. And I'd tell the gaffer or DP, I go, hey, I've got this stuff in the car, or the guy who brought the truck, whatever, you know. I'd say, hey, I've got this stuff in the truck. If you need it, take it. Don't worry about it. If there's money, that's great. If there's not, just use it, you know. And that really bumped my calls up, obviously. They knew I was going to come with a little extra gear. But, you know, it's so funny. It sounds like you didn't expect to turn into a business. Nor did I, you know.
Yeah.
And that backing into a business, in other words, where you're doing something else, you love the picture and that's why you're doing it, and then turn out to be a businessman. Tell me about that transition for you.
So it was, I just owned my own equipment and I was going out on jobs with it. And so every time I got a gaffing job or I got a DP job, my first question would be, well, where's the gear coming from? Or maybe not the first question, but like in the conversation, where's the gear coming from? Oh, I have hardware available. And so it got to the point where I was on a feature. I was working on it. I was gaffing it, and I brought on a team of guys with me. It was an independent feature, and I'm sitting on the back of the lift gate of the truck, and the whole truck is filled with my equipment. It's not my truck, but all the equipment was. And I got a call from my accountant, and he said that, hey, this rental thing seems to be going really well. You're making enough that this is about to screw up your taxes. And so he said that I need to split off the income somehow. And so I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, I guess I could start a rental business, or I could, I don't know, do this under the table, or like that gets weird.
Yeah.
And right at that moment, the best boy that I had on the truck was a young guy who I didn't know that well at that point. David Finn came and sat down next to me on the end of the truck, and he said, I would love to run a rental business one day. And he was really enjoying like organizing and just being the truck guy. And he'd come from another bigger rental house in New York, and that had trained him as well. And so I looked at him and I was like, are you serious? And joke's on him, 2 years, it's been 2 solid years of work, and we've been great partners ever since.
That's
so
great.
It came a little bit out of nowhere, but also I think running a small business runs in my family. My dad owns a small business, my mom does. And so I've had a lot of advice around, and I've grown up like watching the troubles of running a small business and stuff. So that part of it kind of came naturally, and I had a lot of support for advice as we got this thing going.
Yeah.
So.
That is
Did
something.
that answer the question? I lost track with the original question.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I can never remember the original question, Adam. So any answer is good. You know what? But that is something, and we had talked one time, and I think that is so important. No one in my family was anything other than an employee, ever. And you had 2 parents that were small business owners. And I remember there was a quote that you told me, your father told you one time, that I just loved. I'm going to have you repeat that. But after you do that, give us a little bit of insight on what you learned maybe when you didn't even know you were learning it from your parents.
Oh, man. I can't remember what the quote from my father was.
Oh, that was okay.
Okay.
It was something about having a child that never grows up.
Owning a small business is like having a baby that will never grow up.
Yes,
because no matter how much work you put into it, it will never feed itself. It's your responsibility for the rest of its life to feed it and take care of it and maintain the warehouse and everything else. So that was his way of looking at a small business of, the business grows, but it's not necessarily going to get easier. Like you acquire staff and they help you, but as that happens, you also grow as well. So, what was your other question? Advice from my
just what you learned from your parents, maybe by osmosis, that you didn't realize at the time, but now that you have a business, you realize, well, I learned that from them, or they really helped me understand this now.
To quote the Spike Lee movie from my father's, do the right thing and be honest with people, and it will always come back for the better. And there are times that somebody will call me for a rental and I will give it away to somebody else because I know that somebody else can either do a better job or they have more of what the customer is looking for. And I'll be upfront with them if that's what we're looking to do. I put a lot of work into that as well of trying to maintain relationships and know that if I'm always upfront and I'm always honest with stuff, that it both can't come back to hurt me and can only help.
Right. So. And that's something you bring up there that is very interesting too. What I have found in this business and owning a business it's made me grow personally, and it's made me grow my ethics, I guess, a little bit more, or be more conscious of them, I guess. It's really easy when you're sort of working on a crew to help your brothers and sisters out. That's a given. You have more challenging questions when you're a business owner. You know, what is fair to people? You know, and am I going to really give this away to this person and charge this other person a price? You know, that's higher. Maybe because they don't squawk about it enough or something like that. And I had to cross all of those things and come to conclusions. And I frankly think it made me a better person by having to be something, by having to make a choice about how I was going to be, how I was going to treat people. So for me, it was been that learning process has been an improvement in my life.
Yeah. Having to stand for something and knowing that you, I'm not just a guy who works on sets anymore, who just shows up, moves sandbags around, and goes home. But I have a persona and I have credibility now, and I have to maintain that appearance in also working to make sure that I'm doing right by everybody at once. And there's room along the way. You find little spots where you can get away with things, you can skirt the rules, or you can like overcharge for things and nobody will ever know. But at the same time, why do that? Because sooner or later, your customers or the other people you work with are going to find out, and that does no good for anybody.
Yes, agreed. And I think it's a matter of respect. You know, the respect you show other people is the same respect that you have for yourself and for your business. You know, and I think it's really easy to dismiss people too if they don't fit into the way that you think you're doing it. And that's something I've learned, is to try to be more understanding of people and what they need and where they're at education-wise in the business, because I'm sure you do as much as I do, which is almost your phone calls that you get. There's a lot of education that goes on for clients. You know, some really know exactly what they want. They know it's easy to deal with them. Others, you need more explanation, and doing that in a way where you're not sounding condescending or you know, letting them participate in the education of themselves, you know, where it's really positive. And I find that has been really good for me in dealing with people too.
Yeah.
You know what, Adam? We're going to take a quick little break right here, but we will be right back. Hi, I'm Bernie. I own Burnies Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnies Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No, we present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnies Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hey everybody, we're back. We're here today with Adam Richlin from LIGHTBULB Grip and Electric in Brooklyn, New York. And we're going to get right back to it. Are you there, Adam?
Yeah, I love that commercial because it's the same person. Like the commercial fades out, it fades back up, and it's you in the same shirt.
I was going to call this the Bernie Network, but I decided, oh, that's way too egotistical. I'm just going to call it the Applebox Network. No, yeah, there's a lot of Bernie on this channel. I'm trying to fix that too. And you're one of my solutions, by the way. You know, tell me about, well, here it's funny because, you know, I have been to New York one time. I was there with the Miss America candidate from New York State, and we were in New York City interviewing her for the Miss America pageant in 2002. Only time I've been to New York. Yet I have heard endless stories about what it's like to work in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same in New York. You hear about all the LA stuff. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, this guy was a rager and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But tell me, give us a little synopsis of working in New York. And here's what I'm thinking is just like traffic issues, parking issues, how you get trucks around, all that stuff, because I hear the wildest stories about that.
If you think we got traffic problems, it ain't nothing compared to LA. We've got the MTA for subways. Like it's a lot easier for us, definitely. New York is a market that does a lot more small work. Like we do, I see a lot more commercials, 1 or 2 day commercials, 1 or 2 day music videos, 3 to 5 day short films come by back to back to back. And so I feel like in LA, I hear a lot more news about big, long-running episodic TV shows and larger features and longer-running content. Where here you get a chance to work with a lot of little crew or a lot of small crews quickly and meet a lot of people. So I encourage a lot of young filmmakers when they come to New York is just work on a diverse group of crews. It's great if you work with one group repeatedly, but start adding more groups or more crew circles into your mix, because that's the best way to get your name out there and get moving quickly. So I don't know how you see it on your side of the line, but most of my work is indie. It's going to be non-union stuff. Yeah. So I know there are a bunch of big union TV shows and movies that do shoot New York as well, but I don't see as much of that market.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you, strangely enough, you are absolutely right, because LA, of course, is the production colossus, and it has a lot of movies, a lot of ongoing TV shows. You know, guys that I know that are on those, they get lost for 3 months. You know, you don't call them, you don't bother them. You know, they're just on their show. But also, I am probably a little more like you. I am actually, now you're in Brooklyn. I am, compared to LA, I'm in Orange County, which most people in the world don't separate the two. You know what I mean? It's just like New York and Brooklyn. If you're in Brooklyn, you're in New York City. I mean, to most of the world. Yeah. It is the same thing. But that is pretty much my workflow too. It's not long, you know, big shows. It's a lot of smaller shows, which I have always considered a huge advantage, because it allows you to actually get more clients, do more days, do more rentals, because they are smaller and you can manage one after the other instead of having one big one and then 2 down months, you know what I mean, and then go back onto it. So I have found that to be an advantage, and I think you and I, as a business, are closer to guys that are, say, in Chicago or even Kansas City or whatever, you know, St. Louis. In different parts of the world, area of the country, I think that's how they work, more likely.
Yeah, I think we just have more projects come by, and there's more content moving, there's more crew moving per day than there is in other markets, but then what we're doing on set is the same thing in every market. The density of jobs is different.
Yeah.
And then a number of people, young, like college-age students, ask me the question of like, oh, I'm ready. Do I move to New York? Do I move to LA? And so the conversation I usually have with them is there are benefits to both, but which one do you have a better support network in? Which one is easier for you to get started and maintain that first 6 months where you might not be getting a ton of work yet, or you move during the winter when it's just quiet, and you've got to build your network. So if you've got an aunt or an uncle that you can crash on a couch with, that might be a better option to stay in whichever of those 2 cities it is. So there's work everywhere.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, and I would say, you know, people ask me like if they're in a smaller market, let's say somebody's in Portland, you know, I'll have somebody goes, what, do you think I should move down to LA? Do you think that'd be a good move? And I tell them, I go, I can tell you right now, there's more opportunity for you in Los Angeles than there is in Portland. You know, you can come down here and you're going to make it based on what kind of worker and what kind of work ethic you have, basically, no matter who you are. if you're somebody who's on time all the time, then you've just beat 90% of everybody else. You know, if you pay attention and listen and aren't on your phone and talking, you've beat the other 9%. So now you're in the 1% category right there, and you haven't even done anything yet. You know, so I think that wherever you go to learn, it's an opportunity, and like to people in foreign countries, you know, I have on-set lighting on Facebook, and I get a lot of Indians. I get a lot of Asian guys ask me, how do I come over? How do I do it? I always answer them the same way. I go, do your best work right where you are and distribute it as widely as you can. And I really believe in this day and age, look what we're doing. You know, we're just a couple of guys with a G&E company, and we're doing a TV show across the United States right now. So, I mean, you can get it out there. You can get the word out. You know, you just have to be diligent and do it. You know, and be willing to work really hard.
Yeah. I think for me, it's not as hard because I enjoy a lot of what I do. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy the lighting work, like or the gear side of the business and the cinematography. And so it makes for, what's the saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
I've definitely worked a lot of days still, but I really enjoy what I do. And so it makes the crazy workload not seem as bad. And so I'd say, like, head towards the things that you're passionate about, because life feels better and you get a lot more done.
Yes, so, very true.
Tim, by the way. The guy you saw pass, that's our warehouse manager.
That's your man. Yeah. That's your guy.
We're working on jobs.
He was at the right place at the right time, Adam. Hey, so do you still go out as a cinematographer?
I do. I go out, I gaff, I shoot projects. I just finished shooting a short film that may have turned into a feature at this point. We finished shooting day 9 of a 3-day schedule. So we shot, anticipated, but it was a film called The Happy Divorce. And so that's working its way through edit, and it's probably going to start going to festivals in the next year or so. I just was gaffing on a series of commercials for Stranger Things. Season 2. An opening TV show for an opening credit sequence for a major MTV show. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but
gotcha.
So I still do. There's this constant stream of jobs that comes in through the rental house. They're still asking me for labor as well, and so I try to like handpick some of the interesting jobs as they come by. And it's like, you know what, I could take a day off and go do that. And I feel like I've got to. Otherwise, I'm just kind of like pushing milk crates full of gear around and making lists on emails. But I've got to keep working with the hardware in order to stay sharp on how people use the gear and what you can do with different hardware. So.
Yeah, I know that really rings true to me. I'll tell you what, my situation is a little different. I always stayed as a gaffer. You know, I get hired occasionally as a DP, but I've always stayed as a gaffer, and that was essentially a business decision for me, because I didn't want to be a DP and lose all the people who might be my clients who were DPs. And a lot do hire me directly. You know, they'll have to say, I didn't want anybody to feel threatened, you know, that I'm a DP and now they're bringing me out as a gaffer. So I've stayed that way. However, my thing now is I'm, when I get really busy, there is no time for me to go out, you know, and two, my age does play a role, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a younger man's game. Somebody your age, you know, you're in your prime. For me, it's just a little bit now. It's like, boy, you know, some 3 12-hour days in a row, that's a little bit more recovery time than I used to have to take, you know. So, you know what I'd like to hear, Adam, and this is, maybe it's all for me, but take me through your process. Let's talk about your business a little bit, and I'll give you my notes as well, on what's the process of ordering from you? And what I'm getting at is sort of, how do you handle things like payment? How do you handle first customer contacts? Stuff like that. Give us just a feel for a typical order that comes through.
So yeah, we do a lot of small rentals, and so I'm doing a lot of like music videos, short films, where they're on a tight budget and they're picking up maybe a mag liner's worth of gear, a mag liner and a hamper, jobs that are somewhere between, I'd say, $500 and $1,500 total for rental. So I have some friends of mine who tell me like, "Oh, we don't have enough of a budget to go to you," and I was like, "Come talk to me. Maybe I've got on the shelf that can make work for you." So I try to put a lot of work into thinking out how to make it easy for customers to order. I still do require insurance and credit card like most other rental houses, but we make everything so you can sign it online. There's no paper, and so you fill out all the paperwork online. You submit your payment online, and you're done in 15 minutes. So that the actual like process of doing the operation is of doing the order is relatively simple. The interesting part for me is having a conversation beforehand with producers and with VPs about the gear that they need. And so I don't own everything yet, and I'm still in my collection of hardware. So often I'll have to substitute stuff, and then we get into the conversation with the DP or with the producer of, well, if I'm going to recommend something to replace, what are you guys trying to do? And then I get to play a little bit of armchair gaffer in making recommendations for things that I do have and ways that you could maybe, I don't have this thing, but I can give you this, and this around it and come up with something similar. So that to me is a fun exercise. And so I don't see it as a challenge of like, oh man, I don't own that thing that they need. I see it as a challenge of how can I still help figure out how to make this happen.
Right. Let me ask you this, because this is a thing with me, and I think it's because I live so close to LA, you know what I mean, in LA for most people's practical view. What I do, and there's a thing in Los Angeles that has been going on for the last few years, you know, the G&E prices for rental, there's been a war, especially since Hertz came in and was a big player in it and really started a big battle, and everybody is really, the bigger houses have taken their numbers way down, like they're renting on a 0.5 day week, you know, that type of thing. What? So yeah, it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that. But what I have done in there is, like, when a client orders something, I've sort of budgeted just a certain amount of money to have a runner who runs up to LA, can rent it relatively cheap, run it back to me, and then in my thing, I mark it up, of course, you know, and maybe I put it on a couple days. If the shoot is a couple days, then I've actually made some money on that. Do you do anything similar? Are there larger houses in New York that you sub-rent from and have a deal with that you can make some money with?
Yeah, I do my best to make things appear seamless to the customer. So I will be upfront with them of like things I'll have that I need to go find, because I say like either if I'm out of sky panels, I can either give you a light mat that I have on the shelf, or I can go sub-rent a sky panel. How are we doing on budget? Is it more important to have an expensive thing and it's exactly the sky panel, or do we have options? But when we do need to sub-rent, I have relationships with a number of local houses. But for me, local houses in Brooklyn, there are a bunch of them, and so we're all relatively close. It's an interesting thing because, like, in most other businesses, if you're in like the office supplies business, like Office Max and Staples don't talk to each other; they're competitors. But in our business, even though we're with other rental houses, we're all friends as well. We all know each other. I know I've met the kids of owners of one local rental house that we go to a lot. And so, because there are times that we're competing with each other, and then but then more often than not, my communication with other rental houses is because we need to work together. They need stuff from me, I need stuff from them, and so there has to be this familial relationship. So we kind of all talk, and so you get to know what each other have, like what clientele. If I'm going to pass off jobs, if I'm overbooked and I just can't take another job on and I need to give it to another rental house, who am I going to call? That sort of thing. So we are pretty friendly. There's probably about 6 or 7 rental houses near us that we work with.
Oh, that's
and at least
great.
like 4 in public. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I feel the same way. I call it co-opetition, and
Yeah, oh, that's a good word. Yeah.
because sure the guys, everybody's up, but I also look at those people who are other vendors. I go, those are my clients too. They're going to come to me with a need, and I want to supply them with it. I'm going to give them a below market deal, obviously, but it still adds to the bottom line. It's a good relationship, and part of what I really enjoy about this business is that sort of camaraderie ship. You know what I mean? It's not like butting heads all the time.
And I think I do my best in terms of like being honest with everybody and trying to do the most good I can. When I'm working with a customer, who sometimes I'll get a customer will come in and they'll say, "Here's a quote from another rental house nearby, another small shop that I may work with, and can you beat it? I'm looking for a better price." Mm-hmm. And so I found better relationship in declining and going back to the other rental house and saying, "Hey, by the way, your customer is still shopping around. Maybe a time to throw another 5% off or something on the bill to keep them in." Because to me, the relationship with the other small house is more important in the long run than one customer. And then the other house finding out that I sniped a job away from them or that I stole something. Because I need to keep working with that other house long term.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell the customer that that's what's happening, but I try to support the relationship support the existing relationship between that client and the other rental house, because I know that they need to put food on the table too, and they need to keep their gear moving.
Right, so. Right. And it comes down to just this: a healthy industry helps everybody. When it always comes down to me. If my competitors are making money, that only means I'm making money. It's not going all one direction. It lifts all boats. You know what? We got to take another quick break here, Adam, and we'll be right back.
The Burnies workshop is fantastic. Burnies workshop is awesome. Burnies workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot, but something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just brand into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of the stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Bernie's a great guy. Bernie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Burnies' Applebox. We are here with Adam Richlin of LIGHTBULB Grip and Electric in Brooklyn, New York. Welcome back, Adam.
Hey!
Awesome, buddy, awesome. Tell me this, and here we're getting into the nitty-gritty now. What are your terms of payment? How do you handle that? Like for me, I require a credit card application from everyone. I have clients, obviously, that some are on 30 days. For the most part, anybody coming in now goes by credit card, and I found that to be generally fairly easily accepted. How do you operate in the financial area?
So most of our customers do credit cards up front. We accept PayPal, cash, check, Venmo. I try to make it easy because a lot of our smaller clients are renting individually. Hey, okay. Some of the corporate customers are relatively easy. They all just want to either write a check or do a credit card and be out of there. And so I usually take payment up front because it's a lot easier for us to send out hardware and then be able to close the job right after it happens. So there are very few of our customers around net 30. I usually have a slightly higher starting cost. You have to have been working with us for a little while. You have to have done a certain dollar volume in order to kind of earn net 30 with us. So it's a harder thing for me to do because I need to front bills for labor and all the sub rentals who all want to get paid right away. And so as a small business, it's tough for me to do. So the majority of our customers are check or credit card at this point. And then occasionally we get small jobs and by Venmo or PayPal. Yeah.
Great. That's great. That's great. What I think most people are are comfortable with that. I remember when I first started, everybody was on a 30-day down here, and it just became really problematic for me. I couldn't continue to do that. I was having cash flow problems, and once we went on sort of the way you're describing there, I grandfathered a lot of people in, of course, that was still on that, but it's really improved things. And I find that is really something that a lot of people getting into the business are very concerned about talking about money, but you shouldn't be. It's a legitimate conversation, and everybody expects to have it. And I think you would agree with this. If you find somebody who's putting up a lot of resistance on payment, it's probably a red flag.
Yeah. That only happens every once in a while, and I can usually see it coming when they're an issue. But at the same time, I also like to encourage customers to talk about a goal budget up front. When you submit a rental request, tell me what your producer has told you you have available, or if you're a producer, tell me what the line item you have for lighting is. Because otherwise, we end up playing this back and forth game where my best guess is I quote it look great, and or maybe a little bit of discount if we worked before, and then a client will come back and say like, oh, that's way too much. I was like, well, tell me that up front. And then I can the first quote I send you will be much more in line with what you're looking for. It'll save both of us time.
Yeah.
And then I'll also know right away if you're requesting a 3-page long list and you've got $400, like, all right, we have to have a different conversation about how the shoot's going to be put together. Is there a way I can help you maybe figure out how to whittle down this list so that it becomes more feasible for your budget?
Yeah, I do the same thing. I will tell people up front, I go, if you give me your budget, I'll do everything I can to get you what you want within that budget, and let me start there.
When a customer just says, oh, I just need you to bid on this. And I sometimes it's tough for me to spend a lot of time caring about projects that I know that people tell me, oh, we're bidding this around to a couple of rental houses, because it doesn't encourage me to compete. It encourages me to not spend as much time if I'm not likely to get the job.
Yes.
So that's the kind of the I think of it. I mean, I would rather spend more time on the clients of mine that are friends that I know that are coming to me and intent on renting, because those jobs I need to make sure are seamless and are error-free and that everything works properly with, rather than spending my time chasing a dozen different emails from a bunch of other people that at the last second may say, oh, sorry, we chose somebody who's simply cheap.
Yeah, yeah. No, I find myself in the same position, and one thing that I know I did early on in my thing is I would try to second guess what the client wanted to spend, and I stopped that for very obvious reasons. First of all, you always guess wrong. You always cheat yourself. because it's much lower than the client's probably expecting to spend. So if I will ask them for that budget, and if it's, and sometimes it's just non-existent. They don't know. You know what I mean? They're looking to find out. I'll give them a full retail bid, you know, and I know I've lost some on it, but I think I've probably gained overall, you know. But if somebody will ask me for a discount or need some help, I mean, if it's within reason, I'll always do it. I assume you too.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time with some of the smaller projects that we do that are passion projects and PSA projects that don't have a lot of money, figure out if there are ways that I can either save them money or just discount the order to get it done. Because I know people that are going out and producing small projects are passionate about doing this and are passionate about creating short films and creating art. At some point, be working on larger projects and are going to have more access to budgets and funds, and so I may as well help them on the small ones. I also look at it, there's an old saying in the rental business that something that stays on your shelf makes you $0, something that for $1 makes you $1. And so get gear moving and get projects done and relationships, even if I'm not the most money on it, as long as I'm not actually like losing money.
Yes. No, that is a, and you know what? Here's one that I probably deal with all the time, but it's been a little more on my mind lately. How long does an item stay on the shelf before you get rid of it? How long does it stay there before it just starts, I got to sell this thing, get rid of it, give it away, do something?
So we're coming up on 2 years at this point. We've gone through over a rentals now. And so I started keeping track of the numbers of what items bring in how much money and how often. And one of the things our rental software does is it creates a list of things that have been never been rented or sold. And so we keep on that list, but then everything as we go down the list, Finn and I both go, oh, we that like rags and some things that might be more specialty items are still worth having around. So I'm very hesitant to sell. We sell extras off of, like, if I own like 40 Cardellinis, I might sell 5 of them on our pile to a younger filmmaker to help them get started building a small gear collection. I'll sell the bottom of our C-stand pile kind of thing, but it's tough for me to sell big lamps because I feel like at some point the indie guys are going to come back and either need a discount option or need more output, and I'll have more lamps that I'll want on the shelf. So for us, storage, as we've moved into this bigger space and we have a lot more space for storage, my need to like create empty holes to put new gear has gone away, and so it's a lot easier for me to keep things. But,
yeah, you sound about as conflicted over it as I am too, because I look in there and I go, well, I should sell that, but wait, I might need it over here, or wait, I might need this, you know.
Jobs are coming up, and I also feel it's a little bit like empire building of like, this is my castle, this is my fiefdom. I can't sell my farmers, like so. But yeah, we tend to we phased out some hardware, but it hasn't been like liquidating stuff.
Yeah,
so I do going to gear auctions that happen every once in a while across the country, but it's getting tougher and tougher to find good deals. I mean, as more and more people know, the prices are getting crazier and crazier.
Oh yeah, it's been very much democratized. Everybody knows what something costs. You know, that's the easiest thing to find out. You know, what's the market rate for it on eBay or Brand New or B&H or whatever. You know, I mean, you get that all the time. You know, it's funny. You know, I have a tree hugger piece of equipment, you know, you put it on a pole or something like that. It's got a baby pin on it. You ratchet strap it together. Have never used it. Have never, ever used it. Yet I look at that thing almost every day. I go into the shop and I go, God, that's so cool. You know, I'm my own worst enemy on it, you know.
There's been this interesting rhythm in how we've gotten hardware. So of the couple things that I've bought and sold, I think in interesting ways. About 5 years ago, I started getting a lot of calls for doorway dolly work. And so I was sub-renting them from friends, and I was like, okay, I should just get my own. And my father runs an industrial machinery business, and so he said, we can just build one. And so we did, and it was working great. We built it to the same specs as that famous orange Matthews one. And then the second I got it in the shop and I started showing it to people, all of the rentals for doorway dollies went away.
Oh my
and this
God.
Is not just like, but just like across all of the requests we got, it was absolutely silent, and it sat there quietly for 2 straight years, 0 calls.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, it just got to be cursed or something. And so I was like, okay. So I put it back in cold storage, and we have another warehouse separate from here that we keep some of the gear that doesn't move a lot. We own like a ton of par cans and things that are more cold storage stuff. And then so we sent it out there, and then not 3 weeks later, doorway dolly requests start showing up again. And so it's the same thing happening. We started getting a ton of requests for M18s. And so I was like, all right, I'm sub-renting this a ton. I'm paying other small rental houses nearby. I'm paying off their units. I may as well buy 1 or 2. So we bought 2 of them. We just saw one strike in the background before they were testing a new bulb. And the call stopped for M18s. So I think is it really like almost superstitious pattern about how that goes. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I have not, ironically, and this is because of the Dana dolly, you know what I mean? I haven't rented any doorway dollies in 6 months. I've got 2 of them. I haven't rented either one in 6 months, which is, they used to rent all the time. It was just like a standard thing, you know, that you're going.
Printing money. Yeah.
What's that?
But now dollies thing to have in their print. I'm a fan of Mighty Works, MYT Works, has an upgrade to level 5, which is similar to the Dana dolly model, but much better built. The parts are better constructed, the bearings are better built, and so we've had a couple of those units that have taken a great beating over the years on rentals. We've sent them out a couple hundred times over the last 3 years. So,
wow, impressive.
A lot of the Danas come and go, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that is something. Well, you know, what is that saying? It's like if you want some time off, buy a new piece of equipment. If you want to work forever, book a non-refundable vacation, right?
Exactly.
Going to happen every time. Going to happen every time.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, wonderful, wonderful, and thank you so much for taking time out of a very busy day, I know, for you. Thank you so much for being with us here on Burnies' Applebox today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I look forward to adding more content as we go, and so hopefully your network will start seeing more from us as we go week by week.
Yes, well, you and I'm really looking forward. I feel like, you know, I've met kin here that I never knew I had before, you know, because it's like you're doing so much. I'm just thrilled with what you're doing. I know we're going to work a lot in the future together. But right now, just tell us, how do we get a hold of LIGHTBULB, Grip, and Electric?
Wonderful. So, yeah, you can go to our website, lightbulbgrip.com, or I'm adam@lightbulbgrip.com for an email. I do a lot of consultations with young filmmakers, either figuring out how to put gear packages together, or they come and sit at my desk in Brooklyn and say, how do I get started in the industry? Who do I talk to? What do I do? And so I enjoy having conversations with that and offering advice. So you're always welcome to give me a shout.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Adam, thank you so much, buddy. And I look forward to making my second trip in my life out to New York one time. But you know, the first place I'm going, LIGHTBULB, Grip, and Electric.
Right there.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you very soon.
Awesome. Have a good night.
All right, you too, brother. Thanks. And thank you. We'll see you here next week on Burnies' Grip, and we'll see you here on Burnies' Applebox. All right, see you then. Bye-bye. Cut. That's a wrap.